Hi, this is Andrew from Precursor Productions, and our topic for this video is how important is microphone selection to the recording process? This is a really good question, and I think there's a question where there's a lot of confusion. People who have been into the studio a number of times probably have noticed the fact that there's all these different types of microphones that are being used to record their instruments and their vocals. In some cases, engineers may have talked about microphones to you if you've had that opportunity. If you haven't had an opportunity to be into a professional studio, you might not have had much experience with microphones at all. Now, for any kind of live music recording where you're basically putting up microphones in front of instruments and vocals, obviously the microphone is going to have a huge part in the actual recording process. But the question is, how much of a part? Now, a number of years ago, when there were only really large professional facilities, say more than 30, 40 years ago, when it was pretty almost impossible to record something professionally in a project or home studio, you would see studios investing large amounts of money in their microphone kits, which is a whole selection of microphones for different applications. Some mics would be better specialized for drum recording, some for guitar recording, some for vocals, and of course there's many multi-purpose mics you could use for various different roles depending on what you're trying to do with them and in the studio. Now, in those days, studios tended to invest a larger amount of money in mics, and they tended to use them for a very long time. So it's not uncommon to see studios spending $2,000, $5,000, $10,000, even $20,000 a microphone. And there are many sort of coveted microphones from those earlier eras, and they're still being sold in some form today, either used or new. Now, the reality is, though, is that in the last 10 years especially, last 20 to some extent, but certainly within the last 10 years, we've seen a huge interest amongst professional manufacturers in creating products that are specifically targeted towards the home and project studio market. There's been a huge boom in this area. And the thing is that a lot of these companies realize that if they can get something into the under $1,000 or even under $500 price point, they can put a microphone into the hands of millions of people instead of a few thousand studios per year. And this has really worked to the advantage of people who are recording in any type of studio, because it is now possible within the last 10 years to buy from a great selection of mics by renowned manufacturers, which are in the under $1,000, in many cases even in the under $500 range, yet that are capable of producing fantastic recordings. Really, the main issue is not so much how much you spend on a mic or what the manufacturer is. It is whether that microphone is suited to the type of instrument or voice that you're recording. Now, understanding that comes through the experience of making a lot of recordings and then seeing how those recordings bear out in the mixing and mastering process, which are the later processes where we take those raw materials of the recording and make them into something that's a finished product. So that's really the most important question here. Ideally, you want to get at least a small variety of microphones if you're recording more than one sound source. If you're somebody who's just recording vocals only, you might be fine with one mic. But if you can record vocals, acoustic guitar, tambourines, congas, etc., then you might need a variety of microphones, and you may occasionally need to use more than one microphone in combination for multi-microphone type recording situation. In that case, it's good to have a bit of variety, to do some research, and to find a few microphones that will suit your application. And your understanding of how to position those microphones within your recording environment, near to instruments or voices, and which microphones seem to give good results for those instruments and voices, depending on what you're doing with that recording later in the mixing and mastering process, that's really what's going to make the difference. So the microphone is very important, but not always for the reasons that you might think. So if you'd like to learn more about how to get the most out of your experience in the studio, simply head over to precursorproductions.com and sign up for our email list. When you do that, I'm going to send you 20 videos that outline how to save time, money, and get the best product when you're working in the studio. I'm also going to offer you 10% off of any of our professional audio production services. So head over to precursorproductions.com, enter your name in our mailing list, and you'll start getting those videos and the discount immediately.